Welcome to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Stefan Samuel. Here are the stories that we are following today, August 12, 2013. Cuban hunger strikers' health reportedly worsening. Venezuelan president to pay official visit to Guyana. U.S. accused of hypocrisy in sugar policy towards the Caribbean. Warner exposes highway corruption. Details on these headlines and more when we return.
Million customers use Leica Mobile for affordable international mobile calls, connecting over 2.5 million mobile calls daily, helping our customers stay in touch with their loved ones, whether they be in Asia, Africa, Europe, or the rest of the world. Every 5 seconds, a new Leica Mobile customer joins our growing family, helping you to make affordable international calls across the world. Leica Mobile. Call the world for less.
Welcome back to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Stefan Samuel. This segment of the news is sponsored by Amral's Travel. In the Caribbean, the health of protesters in Miami engaged in a hunger strike over the alleged abuse of Cuban detainees in the Bahamas has significantly deteriorated, according to Cuban advocacy group Democracy Movement. The group is also heavily promoting a boycott of the traveling to the Bahamas until several Cuban detainees are released. In a press release on Friday, Democracy Movement claimed that the health of Jesus Alexis Gomez and Ramon Sol Sanchez is at the critical stage, but added that the men won't quit their hunger strike. Gomez, who has been protesting for 22 days, reportedly lost 26 pounds, and was advised by paramedics to seek medical attention. The group claims that he is weak, has signs of muscular fatigue and dehydration. Sanchez, who reportedly has diabetes and has been protesting for 15 days, is in grave danger, the release said. In addition, his wealth was already compromised by other extended hunger strikes that have left him with irreversible health conditions. The hunger strikes are determined to continue with the hunger strike, no matter the consequences, until all points are met by the government. When contacted by The Guardian on Friday, Sanchez said the government must commit to investigate the alleged torture and mistreatment of detainees at the Carmichael Road Detention Center and investigate those allegedly responsible. Commit to abide by international human rights standards for those who come to the Bahamas seeking refuge, set up a process of interviewing those who come to the Bahamas who may be seeking asylum, and return 2 Cuban men being held at Her Majesty's prison, who were allegedly tortured, to the detention center and make them available to independent investigators and the media. When asked about the statement about the protesters' health, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration Fred Mitchell said, "That's their business. I have no comment on that at all." In Georgetown, Guyana, Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro is scheduled to pay an official visit to Guyana at the end of August. President Donald Ramotar, who made the announcement on the weekend, said Guyana and Venezuela remain committed to a peaceful resolution to Venezuela's claim that to the mineral and forest-rich Escobibo region, which makes up 2/3 of Guyana's 83,000 square miles. Despite Venezuela's downplay of more than 100-year-old border controversy, since late President Hugo Chavez reassured that the colonial era matter should be a thing of the past, Guyana has maintained that the matter must be settled at the level of the UN. Chavez visited Guyana in 2004. The president was speaking at the formal opening of the Hugo Chavez Rehabilitation and Reintegration Center on Saturday. A major think tank here has accused the United States of hypocrisy in its sugar policy towards the Caribbean. The Council of Hemispheric Affairs said while Washington pushes economic openings for other nations, including the Caribbean, it actively employs protectionist policies when it comes down to its own closely held economy, stating that it is especially true with sugar. COHA notes that the U.S. government heavily subsidizes its sugar sector, imposes quotas on sugar imports, and then hectors developing countries on the wisdom of cutting back on their own subsidies. According to COHA, these measures protect private U.S. sugar producers from foreign competition, allowing them to seek unreasonably high prices in the U.S. market. COHA says the implementation of sugar quotas in the United States has resulted by colossal losses for Latin American and Caribbean sugar economies, stating that sugar quotas have been used for political objectives against Caribbean countries. The think tank states that some advocates in the United States sugar policy argue that in a globalized world, Caribbean countries can target other larger markets, but it adds that European sugar policies are hardly any different from those of the United States. Sugar imports that exceed set quotas are struck with a prohibitively high duty of 16 cents per pound, which is sufficiently high to make sugar imports unprofitable, it says, pointing that Caribbean countries have the most restrictive penalties in place, keeping their sugar out of the U.S. market. In a world where global economies are interconnected, protectionist policies by the United States can have serious ramifications for countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. U.S. consumers would be better off buying lower-cost sugar from Caribbean basin countries, and Caribbean farmers living in poverty need fair access to the U.S. market, says COHA. Interim political leader of the Independent Liberal Party, Jack Warner, on Saturday night produced documents that alleged corruption in the construction of the $8 billion highway extension from the Golconda to Point Fortin. Here's Siobhan Gobin with more on the story.
Warner produced 3 copies for compensation of the same plot of land located in Pinal, which he said was first valued at $7.1 million, but then jumped to $10.9 million, and by its third valuation was placed at $15.3 million. He claimed the property was owned by Rollins Rambaran, a retired engineer from the Trinidad Broadcasting Company and a very, very close friend of Works Minister Dr. Suraj Ratan Rambachan. Warner was at the time speaking at the launch of the ILP's local government election campaign at Azunville Car Park, Tunapuna, last evening. This property, which is located at LP number 14 Tulsa Road, Pinal, was valued by Harlan Timul, a valuator who had first been retained by the DBA to Point Fortin Action Committee to do private valuations, Warner claimed. Warner alleged the valuator and Rambaran met at the minister's lounge back home sometime between May 22nd and the 25th. Later, the property's value increased from $7.1 million in the morning to $10.9 million in the evening, to a staggering $15.3 million by the next day, Warner said. He had valuation documents related to the property that he said were from Timo's company. I am also advised that it was agreed to backdate the valuation dates to April 15, 2012 in 2 instances and November 13, 2011 in the final instance. He claimed, adding he had copies of the transactions. The first valuation, dated November 13, 2011, stated the land was bought 5 years ago. The subsequent valuation, which carried the same date, April 15, 2012, stated the land was bought 4 years ago. Media reports indicate that copies of the valuation of the land were submitted to the National Infrastructure Development Company, the agency that is supervising the construction of the Golconda to Point Fortin Highway. President of NIDCO, Dr. Carson Charles, is currently out of the country, but Vice President of NIDCO, Dindanad Ramkissoon, when contacted, said he was not authorized to speak on behalf of the company. He, however, asked the Sunday Express to email questions to him and said he would seek to get a response. There was no response up till late last night. Warner, meanwhile, told the crowd in Tunapuna that he was appalled to read that Minister Rambachan, whom he described as his nemesis, denied his early accusations of corruption taking place in the construction of the highway. Warner has been buoyed by his victory in the Chaguanas West by-election and is seeking to gain more victories in the local government election, which is constitutionally due by October 26. This is Siobhan Gobin reporting for Caribbean Affiliate News.
You are watching Caribbean Affiliate News. We will be right back.